right, and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassard, come right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports, Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out here listening to all of our shows, and if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, Lakerholics.com, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, or wherever you can go ahead and catch our shows. It is sincerely appreciated. And also the awesome people at the Hoopheads Podcast Network. Well, you know what? Life sometimes gets in the way. And unfortunately for me, or maybe fortunately, I had to delay our post-game show for about an hour and a half, because like I said, life gets in the way. But maybe that's a good thing, because just like the Lakers, I may have lost my composure too, because in the Lakers, it was the best we saw this year and the very worst we saw this year. And unfortunately, that very worst came in the second half, where they got outscored 67-43 in an abysmal performance, and a disgraceful one at that, as the Lakers ended up losing 123-115 to the previously winless Oklahoma City Thunder. And of course, as he predicted, LakerTom did predict again the Russell Westbrook quadruple double. He did get a quadruple double. Unfortunately, it was 10 turnovers as part of the mix, and he looked awful again today. Regressed back to the problematic Russell Westbrook of old. Anthony Davis, unfortunately, 30 points, 8 rebounds. Kent Bazemore, 11 points. Really not much to speak of after that. Carmelo Anthony was 1 for 8 from 3. Avery Bradley did play well in certain minutes, but he 13, 3 for 4 from 3, but he was minus 11 on the plus minus. Really not much good to speak of, because again, the Lakers in that second half really looked terrible and had several chances to win in the final minute. It kept on being given chances by a young team in Oklahoma City that kept on making mistake after mistake after mistake. And you know what the Lakers kept on doing? They kept on airballing and breaking three-pointer after three-pointer.
With plenty of time on the clock where guys could have got themselves set.
Just like he said.
It was like really, I mean, when you fall apart like that, I mean, this was the worst loss that the Lakers have had in 25 years.
I would agree with you on that. I was going to go back to actually just before LeBron, because those years were pretty bad, but this is a team that has high expectations.
25 years it was.
And I'll tell you what, this was a disgraceful loss indeed. And here today to talk about the game, and hopefully not to provide me any enthusiasm or positivity on this one, because you really can't put any kind of flowers on this one. It's a good man indeed. He has got a lot to say on Lakerholics.com. So please, if there is any time you want to go ahead and do drive-by viewing like you would at a car crash, now is the time to go ahead and look at Lakerholics.com to go ahead and check out the anger and venom that's going to spew over the next couple of days. It is LakerTom. And LakerTom, I'm glad you're sounding recently, because I was coming into this saying, you know what? You were going to go ahead and say, okay, things are okay. It's just one game, whatnot. No, this is not just one game. This was a disaster.
It's just one game, Gerald.
It's a disaster.
It's just one game, man. It's the 5th game of the season. We're not playing with LeBron. We got ahead with an insane 26 point lead by playing maybe the best half that we played in a long time, or at least
that's
almost
what I had said.
But we all of a sudden have lost the ability to finish, and actually we lost our total confidence, because I mean, even Melo, quick firing a air ball 3 from the top of the key when we had 11 seconds left. I mean, you don't, when you're behind by 3, you don't wait to take the last shot with no time left on the clock. You actually try to get a good shot up there. I mean, and having Russell Westbrook be the other guy that you're taking a game time 3 for,
and he didn't need to. He still had
it was a 2-for-1. It was a 2-for-1, Gerald. That's what they were trying to do.
Well,
They had the
I
31
hope,
seconds, and they wanted to get a 2-for-1. If he could get that, and then they would get the ball back for sure, regardless of what happened.
and then Malik
at
Monk
the other end.
threw up a putrid 3-point attempt as well.
Yeah. And I thought Frank took way too long to put offense back into the lineup. I one of the things I haven't had a chance to do, and I'm going to spend some time tomorrow doing, is looking at the quarter results of which lineups in which quarters really were responsible for allowing the thing to go to hell today. I mean, I know that I saw Rondo go out there with Russ when we had like a 5-point lead, and that immediately vanished. So, and there were other situations where, and I know that Frank doesn't have the full complement of players there, and they're still learning how to win without LeBron. The good thing is that they showed, and this is all you can really take from a game like this. You can take an ugly taste in your mouth because the team really blew a game that they should have had locked up. But on the other hand, the way they played in the first half and the defense they played in the first half was excellent. And for a good part of the beginning of the regular season, the goal of every team, especially teams that have complete turnover of personnel and even some of the offensive and defensive strategies that they're following, like the Lakers do, it's going to take time for those teams to gel, and you can shake your heads all you want, but you're really just venting right now. And you know in your hearts that the truth of the matter is that it is just one game. And, there'll be going to be other stinkers that we'll have as we go along during the year. It'll happen. It's just going to happen. But, there were good signs that you could see from the game.
Okay, I'm glad you saw them, because in the second half, I sure didn't.
Well, I didn't see them in the second half. I didn't say that. I said,
the first half, again, was the best half the Lakers did play this year. But unfortunately, it came with the worst, by far, second half. And I'm going to say this. The team has not looked good as a whole at all at any point in time of the year. They not put
breakfast.
Wait a minute. That's a totally false statement.
No, how? Okay, which
game?
Which game have they looked good at?
At any point in time?
No, he said a game. He said a full game. A full 48-minute game.
Which 4 quarters?
Well, they won 2 games. They won 2 games.
They barely won against San Antonio, a team that's going to be in the lottery, and they barely won at home against Memphis. Didn't that go to overtime too, MagicMan?
Yes, it did, Gerald.
Okay, so you cannot tell me that the Lakers have looked good at all this season, which to me is concerning.
No, I have seen promising signs of several things. Number one, that we're learning how to win without LeBron on the floor. And if that can be accomplished, that is probably the single biggest thing that would enhance our championship hopes this year.
So normally
secondly, we've changed our offense completely. So we're playing 5-out basketball the way that we're supposed to, the way that take advantage of it. I think that were it not for the injuries that we had, especially to the few wings that we had, which was a problem that Pelinka should have taken care of, but he didn't. And obviously,
what was he supposed to do exactly?
Well, it isn't. It's a case that he was obviously looking for wings, but so was everybody else. So what did he have to offer?
So in 2018, the Cavs lost a very bad game to the Orlando Magic. They were up by 21 points, and in the fourth quarter, they scored 9 in total. 9 points. And that was probably the worst time to be a Cavalier at that point if your name wasn't LeBron James. He jettisoned Isaiah Thomas. He jettisoned Jay Crowder. He jettisoned Derrick Rose. He jettisoned Dwayne Wade. He can't do that this time. He can't go. Hold on. Wait a minute, Tom. Let
MagicMan finish.
Tom, you had your chance. I'm talking now.
Let MagicMan finish.
Go ahead.
He can't go up to Rob Pelinka and say, Rob, we need to fix things here. You know what Rob's going to say? You wanted Russ? You need to fix this because my hands are tied. I put together the best team I could for you under the financial constraints that we have.
And the only thing is, you talk about Melo about 1 every 4 games, you getting a Melo game. Now it's going to be even worse with Russ. If 1 out of every 5 games, you're going to get a Russell Westbrook game. And that's the problem, because the other 4 games, because he has so much of a usage rate, is horrendous. 10 turnovers is horrendous. 9 turnovers, 10 turnovers.
Gerald, since 1980, when the Elias Sports Bureau started keeping track of NBA statistics, there are only 2 players who have had 3 quadruple hobbles. James Harden has 3 in total. Russell Westbrook has 6. He has double the quadruple hobbles that James Harden has.
I just love that quadruple hobbles.
It's the pace he plays at. When you play at that pace.
But Gerald did say. Gerald did say, I remember in the summer, he said, you know what? We got Russell Westbrook. Get ready for the full Westbrook experience. And these past 2 games have been a window into living and dying with Russell Westbrook.
Right.
That's funny, because now Jay John Sarceda is here. Great to have you in the chat, my friend. It's funny now. There's no hearts. There's no thumbs up. It's all just the care, because we're all feeling we need care right now. Right. That's the emoji that we get right now.
So some patterns have emerged, Gerald, that are troubling for Frank Vogel. Here's one.
Just some.
So of the 5 games that the Lakers have played this year, they've allowed 30 points in 11 of those quarters. Think about that. Out of 22 quarters this year, the Lakers have allowed 30 or more points. That's half the quarters you play. And in the past 4 games, his teams have allowed 30 points or more in both the second and third quarters, when your bread and butter is making those adjustments. So if any coach could have taken this group of bad defenders and try and turn them into a decent unit, it would be Frank Vogel. But through the 5 games, we know he can't do it.
Yeah, but what he did
is not a miracle worker.
The reason you're saying that, Sean, though, to be fair, is because last year, after LeBron and AD got hurt, which was in the second half of the season, okay, the Lakers, without those 2 players, managed to maintain their number 1 position.
Yeah.
But they did that because they were an experienced team that had been together for almost 2 years, especially the core perimeter defenders. And they took over got put into that situation midway into the season, when they've already were an excellent defense. Now you're talking about taking a whole bunch of guys whom we obviously, when we recalibrated our roster, we brought back more offense and not as much defense. And then injuries on top of it.
What defense did we bring back? What defense did we bring back, though? I mean, what perimeter defender on the Lakers team is better
THT
or adequate?
is not a good defender. Let's put this out there. You say he's 4th in defensive efficiency and all that. It's common among the league that
there must be something that the Lakers see in him, that they've given him in the role that they're going to put him on the best.
And I understand that they see that, but
it's based on potential. It's not based on actual performance.
And then Trevor Ariza is 37, and you're counting on him to be.
You guys are just creating a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, seriously, this is 5 games in.
Tom,
you got a disappointing loss tonight.
So
you flush it and you move on, man.
In the history of the Los Angeles Lakers, with a 25-point lead, up until tonight, they were 200-0. 200-0.
Well, they were 220, I think, to be correct. Yeah.
No, I posted it.
Does it really matter after 200? Does it really matter?
I thought it was 230, though. But check that out, Sean. It's even more than you said.
Like, it doesn't. The whole loss tonight is encompassing of bigger issues. It's not just the loss. Yeah, Tom. Tom, I
There are
realize
bigger
you say
issues, Tom.
they always count as one, but you were laughing out after we were 0-2, joking around how he's saying, "Oh, it's practice." They're not. You know, LeBron was more interested in Squid Game this week than he was in figuring out how to make adjustments defensively.
It's a long
So-
season, man, and these pros, they've been through it. LeBron's been through it for 20 years, man. He's going to, he's not.
Well,
he's not worried at all at this point in time.
He's been out 2 games because of a bone bruise, Mr. Wong. I mean,
Well,
4
but I
years,
think that
4
they're
years
taking-
ago. Hold on, 4 years ago, he would sprain his ankle about 3 or 4 times a game and just readjust the tongue,
Yeah.
tie him back up,
he's
and
lost
so
more games the last 2 years than he ever has before. So he's
Well,
obviously.
I mean,
They're looking
you know,
at it as a different situation.
everybody.
I actually think LeBron could have played, but I actually think that the Lakers wanted to play without LeBron for these 2 games because they wanted. I mean, that's one thing that they have to do. That was one of the reasons behind why they really traded for Russell Westbrook and not Buddy Hield. What Russ did Tuesday night, Buddy Hield could never have done. He could not have brought the Lakers back like they did. They needed a third superstar, and they saw how that helped Boston, how that helped Brooklyn get through the whole year with their
But conversely, Russell Westbrook took you out of this game, or at least helped contribute to taking you out of this game.
Nope, there's no doubt about it.
So
you understand why we're concerned.
No, I understand that you can be concerned, but seriously, it's only the 5th game of the season.
But Tom, you said this team had the potential to win 70 games. You said this team had
the concerns are baseless. I'm just saying that you're overreacting so badly to it.
So
and
Tom,
let
me ask you a question, Tom. Why do you think Frank Vogel keeps going back to Russell Westbrook and Rondo? He sees the tape. He knows they're bad together. But the only reason I can come up with is that he can't find another combination that wouldn't be as bad or as worse. And that's a concern, man.
Again, Avery Bradley, who shot well,
because we got
-13.
5 guys, we got 4 guys out that are injured.
I remember
we have an
reading on
unbalanced
Twitter
roster to start with. We were short on wings, and they and I don't even blame Pelinka for it because wings were hard to find, and basically we were taking guys that were willing to come for a minimum contract.
So why did Frank Vogel leave Carmelo Anthony on the floor when we needed to stop? That's another concern. Like,
well, we needed shooting badly to get back. We're down by 3.
But you're playing defense though.
Right. Yeah, but
I think the bigger concern, and Gerald was kind of alluding to it, is that the injuries, the lack of shooting, the integrated chemistry, it all has a ripple effect. It all has a ripple effect, and that's the big difference to me.
If we were at game 20, if we were game 20 of the season and we blew a game like this, I would agree with you, Sean. I'm just not going to agree at game 5. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to remember you got to remember we are 2 baskets away from being 0-5 when you look at it.
Well,
that would be that's really a problem. When you look at it.
Yeah,
so no Lakers team.
The glass is half full.
It's empty right now.
Here's a contrast in style.
But I appreciate your enthusiasm. I want to make sure. Let's not beat LakerTom up, Magic.
No, there are obvious reasons to be optimistic.
And you have to be, because there's still some good signs with AD playing so well, coming off of that knee injury, knee soreness. So I was concerned if he was actually even going to play.
Can do.
Yeah.
If he's in the right situation, you know what Westbrook can do, and that you can win those non-LeBron minutes. LeBron may be trying to make himself into a jump shooter for the rest of his career, but at least he's shooting the hell out of the ball, so that's a good sign. AD at times appears to be dominant, especially when he's got space and not 5 guys sitting in the paint like he was for the whole second half of the game. Monk impresses me with his athleticism, and I'm actually thinking in my mind that he's a serious candidate to potentially start along with Bazemore. He's not a great defender, but he's a pretty good ball handler. He's a pretty good passer, and he definitely can shoot the lights out. I have a lot more problems with Carmelo's defense in a certain way because it's like he's a windshield wiper right at the rim, and it's just like every time he makes a mistake, it's 2 points. At least if the other guys make out, if Reeves or Bazemore or Monk make a mistake on the perimeter, at least we got a chance to cancel it with some shot blocking inside. But so there's and Vogel is playing 5 outs and putting in wrinkles that I think were intelligently done to offset the problem of people going under screens for Russ. I think these north-south screens that they're setting on him and the guys who are just slipping the screens and so forth, those are things that really help, those ghost screens. Those are things that really make it very difficult for teams to prevent Russell from going downhill. And we're learning how to do that better every game. One of the interesting things that I've been playing around with in my mind is in watching these 2 games is that there's a question in my mind as to whether it is better to play 3 superstars at the start of every half and at the end of every half so that you get them playing together, because you have some obvious problems with the 3 of them playing together. It's hard to get shooting and it's not a perfect fit. And maybe it'd be better if you had AD and LeBron and then AD and Russ and then Russ and LeBron in 3 different rotations, where you were putting maybe 2 superstars on the floor the entire game. Because if you put 3 in the front and 3 at the end of every half, there's going to be one 12-minute span where you've only got 1 superstar on the floor. And for the Lakers, it's going to be LeBron. And, otherwise that's how you work a 36 minutes per game schedule with those guys. So there's a lot of things that are going right with the Lakers, and you just have to remember that it's early in the season. There are 82 games. This is just the 5th game, regardless of whether these guys are shaking their heads.
We're like bobbleheads.
They are bobbleheads in a certain sense. They're members of the glass half empty crew. And they're always
glass half empty. I was on the glass half full team like 30 minutes ago.
The glass half full bobbleheads go like that, but they could tell by you guys going like this that you're in the glass half empty bobbleheads. But there's no reason to get panicky. We compare it, for example, when we were entering the playoffs and the team was really struggling a little bit, and when players were injured, the superstars were injured, and so forth. I didn't have any sense that there was a fate ahead of us that was going to be very promising. I thought we were going to have a hard time get past Phoenix when AD went down, and LeBron not being 100%. I don't feel that way at all, and I don't share at all the dismay that you have now. I will admit to one thing that I have as part of making sure that I keep my life partner happy, that I'm not going to allow the results of a Lakers game, Yankees game, or 49ers game to affect what's really important in life. And to a certain extent, so I have some perspective there, because I haven't been that way all the time. There have been times when I'd really scream and rant and rave, but whether I do that or whether I look at things very positively, it usually depends upon what I'm reading of what's happening with the team. And what I'm reading is very positive. There's a lot of pressure on the team and so forth, but anybody who's thinking and talking about Frank Vogel losing his job or Fizdale becoming the coach or this being a Mike Brown situation.
The house is on fire and you're roasting marshmallows.
But there isn't any. There was that one little incident with AD and Dwight.
I like s'mores,
which is totally glossed over. which has now been totally glossed over, and so everything, I mean, the guys will be remorseful tomorrow. They'll be talking about how embarrassing it was that we just blew that game. The other side of it is
they're not embarrassed, actually.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is one hell of a player, man.
He is, but again, this is a team that wants to lose, is trying very hard to lose, and it's very disappointing when you're up by 26.
I just don't think they've learned how to win yet.
Well, they certainly learned how to win today. That's for sure.
Yeah, because the refs were really trying hard to get us into overtime again.
Hold on, LakerTom. Hold on. Let Sean speak for a second.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the refs did their part to try and help us get it into overtime again.
Well, so did Oklahoma City, because they gifted the Lakers on more than one occasion.
We're not getting we're not getting the calls at all.
It's Russell. So his critical decision making is also an issue too, right? Because OKC comes back, they turn a 26-point deficit into a 34-point swing.
Really bad shots
they were
during that stretch.
Well, what concerned me was it was 116 to 113, and Russ decides he's going to go off on the ref. Now, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is at times a streaky free throw shooter, but he's normally in the mid-80s to mid-90s. So you're basically gifting him 3 buckets there.
Right. Yeah.
And he turns a 2-possession game into a 3, and that was a problem. And as soon as it got out of hand, he just decides, I'll just double down and go
well, every team has to learn that these guys, it's just human nature. You get ahead by 25 points and you slack off, man. I mean, I don't know, part of it is almost that it's almost insulting. It's almost like the layup that the guy made at the end of the game.
Darius Baisley
made at the end of the game, which was, that's fine. That's actually the kind of thing I would have done.
Yes.
But a lot of people wouldn't. You get to a point where you think that you're invincible, and they got that way, and then they got sloppy, and Russ came down and wasted half a dozen possessions, like Sean was saying, and and next thing you can't get a stop when you need a stop, and you can't get a jumper to fall when you need a jumper to fall, and then to make things even more embarrassing, you hoist up a pair of air balls with plenty of time on the clock in rush shots that were shots taken by guys who didn't have confidence that they were going to make the shot. They already had lost the game before they took that shot. But it is, in the end, just one game. Now, you won't be able to say that of the game 7 of the playoff series,
And what a game it was
indeed. Game we can say it was just one game.
Oh, we'll remember this one for a long time. And with Cleveland just coming off of a great victory against the Clippers, we'll be facing them on
Friday.
Yeah, we'll be seeing them on Friday post-game, so we'll be here for that. But before we end on out, guys, let's close this thing. I was going to do the top 75 and discuss that, but you know what? I'm not in the mood to tell you right now after hearing that. But Sean, I am not going to have a top 75 discussion unless you're here for it as our NBA historian. LakerTom, I would love for you to be a part as well. Yep. We'll even get Admiral Akbar.
I'm all prepared for
conveniently absent here today. Notice that, how he's conveniently absent. So we'll just say that. But guys, we're going to head on out. What you got cooking at Lakerholics.com? LakerTom, I'll start with you first. What you got cooking at Lakerholics.com?
I'm interested in this whole concept of whether or not that it would be better for the Lakers to spread their 3 superstars out, to have 2 superstars on the court all the time versus starting and closing with 3 of them. Now that's a touchy subject for them to do, but you can work it out where you basically start all 3 of them so that everybody's a starter, if you will, and then there are, if you have three superstars and there are 4 rotations in each half, you're talking about basically those 2 middle rotations are going to have 2 superstars. You can have 2 superstars for 3 rotations, and then all 3 guys at the start. And then it means that one of the 3 of them is not going to close games because you're going to take him to plug into the middle of the lineup. But there are things about the fit of the Lakers' big superstar big 3 that is difficult. That getting shooting in there, and even defense to a certain extent. And because Russ, you got to cover.
He
Russ
can't shoot and he can't play D.
Yeah, well,
hard thing.
which creates a problem. But on the other hand, if you want him to be free flowing, playing him along with AD or playing him, could make a big difference. So I'm working on whether or not that really is something that is an out of the box solution for the Lakers.
There you go. And you can find it at Lakerholics.com. There's going to be a lot of vitriol that's going to be spewed out, I have a feeling. But you got to, like I said, like a car crash, you just got to go ahead and take a look. It's a drive-by right there at Lakerholics.com. Yeah, that's what I do at Lakerholics.com. I don't like to really interact. Although, you know what? I will say, LakerTom, thank you so much for the compliment that you gave me. I am truly appreciative of that comments you gave me. Thank you. But usually I just love to do drive-bys. Okay, what's the guys at Lakerholics.com doing today? Oh, wow. That looks like a great conversation. Oh, you know what? It's so funny. I think I'll just stay out of it and just go ahead and not interject it because I don't want anybody getting mad at me. But before we head on out, Sean Grice, a.k.a. MagicMan, our NBA historian at Lakerholics.com. What you got cooking there? Hopefully some more, I guess,
where's that 75 article? Where's your 75? I thought you were
he's working on it. He's working on it. You know what? Tell you, when you debut it, that's
it'd be better for us to argue his 75 than Sports Illustrated or
I had 4
Bill Simmons.
Well, they all had their top 100 except for the NBA. NBA only had 75. ESPN, Sports Illustrated, they had their top 100. But
I like the idea of the 25 guys that you'd add to the top 50 from last time.
There you go.
I don't like guys getting kicked off and their seat given to a player that's got recency bias just because half the voters never saw the other guy play.
But Sean, what you got cooking at Lakerholics.com?
Well, Gerald, going to be as soon as I post my Jubilee, I've also got something cooking on the first week of this season. My 30 years of watching basketball in the NBA, this has probably been the weirdest opening week I can remember. The 2 teams that were likely to play in the NBA Finals and picked by most prognosticators, including all 3 gentlemen on this panel, are both 2 and 3, and they're 2 of the most bizarre teams.
Could be worse, like Gerald
could be
said.
worse for both of them. The Chicago Bulls are undefeated. I mean, I never thought I know Texas froze over, but I didn't think hell would freeze over with the Bulls being undefeated so far. It's just been a really
the Bulls and Hornets in the finals, man.
Oh God, LeVar Ball was right all along, wasn't he?
Yeah, was that? It would be a BBB final.
Yeah. So I mean, this has really been a strange, winding first week. And by the way, I don't find it unironic that a few days before Halloween, we get the Russell Westbrook experience, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, definitely.
That's for sure, indeed. But if you want to go ahead and check out the car crash, as known as Lakerholics.com, be part of the conversation today. And the conversation is going to get hot and heavy over the next few days. I'm assuming by that
Jekyll and Hyde thing's a great topic for a Westbrook article.
There you go. Right on.
And by the way, we welcome all the haters. You want to rubberneck with us right now? Let's go.
That's a good one.
I don't want to hate on anybody, but you know what? Again, I'm certainly glad you're not getting me 1.5 hours ago. then I was ready to go ahead and rage. So I'm glad for the delay, and I think our listeners should be glad as well. But guys,
and everything is okay in Lakerland. Don't worry.
If you haven't, well, I don't know. We'll wait and see. But if you have any questions for us at Lakers Fast Break,
Gerald, you losing some hair?
Well, yeah, kind of,
like you're
especially
losing
after
hair
tonight. At LakerTom on Twitter, at Lakers Fast Break on Twitter, and LakersFastBreak at yahoo.com. All right, guys. See how smart you guys will be after Friday when we play the surprising Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll see how that game turns out, but we will be here after the game on Friday. So check us out then or this weekend when you listen to it right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast.